honeybees! It smells like autumn in the air in my area, and I'm not particularly excited for this season because I like warm weather, like long daylight, and I also have weird allergy to cold or something where my hands and kneecaps and feet get itchy and kind of red, and it's showing up in random moments. So yeah, the only benefit is that because it's cold outside, I can stay more at home and well draw more. But what do you think about autumn? And guys, do you know what we'll talk about today? References, yes. And it's a huge topic, and it means so much to me because for a long amount of time I was really confused and doubtful about how should I behave in this world of references. So when I was starting out, I was overwhelmed by the amount of pictures I can draw. All of these beautiful photos on Tumblr and Instagram, and I wasn't thinking that they are somebody's property, like just another pretty picture for me to draw later, because I was thinking that everything I draw belongs to me, because I drew it. So it's mine. And what was a disappointment when I found out that it's not only legal and not morally right to do that, because photos are upon someone's creative ownership, because it's not only the skills that matter, but the idea. And listen, if my conscience tells me it's wrong, I can't do that. So after that, looking at pretty pictures, my first thought went from I want to draw it to am I allowed to draw it? Look at it. I'm joking. Am I allowed to draw it? Probably no. But that's just because I'm an artist myself, and by using my picture, that artist will basically compete with me if I decide to paint that picture as well. Well, you noticed. Competition. So that's because I'm an artist myself. But what if the picture I use is not taken by artist or photographer, but by some random person out of these fields? Would they mind? Well, obviously, asking the source about whatever they allowed or not to draw or redraw their photo is too much time consuming, and not always you can find the right source. And also, there is a point of uniqueness. Like, I would not want to see the same art piece but drawn by another person. Like, yes, you can have different art styles or change colors, but it will still be obvious if you both will draw from the same picture. And you know these famous photos like pictures of a girls or animals in certain poses, that when you see a drawing you have this thought like I've seen this already somewhere before. So I definitely don't want my viewer to look at my art and think like this. Okay, so in this matter, I think I want to define the meaning of copying and referencing. For me, copying is to take someone's creation, partially or fully redraw it, and affirm your creative rights upon it. It applies to art, photos, book or journal photos illustrations. Referencing is to take someone's creation, like sculptures, building, nature, video, costumes, mechanism, photos and art and etc. and take bits that you like to change them or apply to another bits, draw or paint them in your style and affirm creative right to it. So here's the thing. It's not even about redrawing someone's creation, but only someone else's photos and art. Like it's usually only applies to 2D visuals. Because there is no problem with drawing sculptures or buildings, like whole urban sketching is based on drawing somebody's architectural idea. And I know you would say, but this is in 3D and this is in 2D, so yeah, that's what I'm talking, so there's only problem in 2D and being 3D. Yeah, but at the same time, drawing somebody's bathroom from video or photo or even from life can also result in weird situation when the viewer will see your art and be like, why the hell are you selling my bathroom interior to everybody? Yeah, I do come up with interesting scenarios in my mind. On the other hand, there is a magical land called fan art. I mean, people literally taking screen caps from cartoons, movies, and TV shows and redrawing them and selling them. Hell, I take screen caps from my TV show and draw them. And overall, it's a bit confusing because that means what? That we can copy or heavily reference super popular cartoons or artists like Da Vinci, movies, and photographers and call it fan art? But if we do the same with not that popular artists, cartoons, and etc., depending on creator's opinion, that can be equally considered fan art or copying stealing. Okay, but imagine someone took your art, redraw it, and with best intention made fan art and started profiting out of it. Like, how would you react? For me, it sounds strange and not pleasant, and reminds me a little bit about that quote about a cup in a desert. Okay, let me explain. So, there is a cup in a desert, and plants grow around it. Water drops directly in that cup, so only when cup will be full, it will be able to share water with the plants. Well, maybe then that is the point. Like those artists whose cups is full, like super popular one, care less about those who take advantage of their creation because their cup is overfull. And I mean, take advantage sounds bad and aggressive, but I mean, use their art with best intentions because they love or admire that work, like me and Supernatural, for example. And on the opposite side, those artists whose cup almost empty cannot fully appreciate their water taking from them, especially when they need it. And I know that sounds like low and selfish point of view, but it's my point of view, and I think it's natural and okay to feel like this for anybody else. Moreover, that is actually the reason why I don't want to heavily reference or use pictures, because I might be taking someone's water from them. Okay, so that should explain why I feel bad about using those types of references in this way. So what do I do about it, and how do I actually use reference then? First and the most obvious, I take them myself. Whenever I go somewhere or meet someone, I take pictures of pretty objects, people, clouds, trees, and landscapes. First, I don't feel any guilt, and secondly, it makes me feel more connected to my art in some way. Secondly, I take screenshots from Insta stories or videos, like music videos, because I feel a lot less pressure copying or referencing from video material. And because even if author was originally in that place, I was the one to choose the very second and stop video in that exact moment. It may be silly, but that way I feel more involved. Next step is changing the picture that I reference. And not only, I mean, of the copying issues, but because in a lot of photos, authors don't control surrounding and work with what they see and have. Me, as an artist, I can take away like tree that messes up the composition or create guidelines that will lead viewers' eye to the main point in artwork. So in this way, I don't feel like I need to take someone element and put it in my artwork, but I can change the reference to that extent that there will be more of my work put into it. I also want to pinpoint that these rules I apply only to work that I think I might be selling in the future. So if you draw or paint for yourself as a practice, you can copy and draw whatever you want. But the next tip I use is to reference only one part or one element. For example, only the composition, only colors, only lighting, only that pile of rocks, or only the pose. And for instance, the art that I'm painting right now is referenced from from two pictures and one artwork. I remember when I saw artwork of lizard laying nearby the rocks, and it was done in a really simple way, but I liked how rocks were surrounding and like sheltering this lizard. And look at the screen. It is that moment when my camera fell down. And so my cat was really surprised by that turn of events. Yeah. So about the artwork, I began to think how to manipulate it, and Castile was the first choice because I like the idea of him having the safe place where he can fly and rest and just be with the nature. So I recently saved picture of a laying girl on my board on Pinterest. So I used that as a second reference for his pose. And I also needed the reason why he is laying in that particular place, so I added tree and bees to the picture so he will not just lay only surrounded by rocks, but in actually nice place where I wouldn't mind to rest myself. And I wanted to have an interesting light on that one because at that time I was practicing midday light and had a bunch of references about how light is behaving while falling through the treetops to the grass. And that is how this illustration was born. And finishing up with references, there are situations where you can't change the reference and can't take your own, like with drawings of some flowers, birds, or animals. And this is a highly speculative territory, but in such cases, I try to find references that don't belong to animal photographers or websites like NatGeo or something. So I search in Instagram hashtags or I take the pics from Pinterest, but then I try to make interesting coloring or change the light settings. And about the artwork. In this piece I tried to make line art with color pencils instead of gouache as I usually do, and I love the result, so I will continue experimenting with this. You can also notice that I was redrawing his face dozen times. That because I foolishly covered the sketch lines completely. Never do that. Don't rely on your memory. Anyway, I did the sketch in early spring and I'm mega happy to finally get my hands on it. Hope some of my reference stock will be useful for you or give you some insight because I remember how hard and confusing it was to discover it on my own. But yeah, don't you dare to stop drawing or creating in any way. Enjoy life, enjoy the autumn, take care and carry on. I will see you really, really soon. Goodbye!